Welcome, everyone. I am so excited to have you today. It is our fourth, I believe, Power Friday workshop here at Rising Legacy. Today's session is focused around a topic that is so near and dear to my heart that I have been speaking about for many years in my leadership development practice, and I've had to practice as well as an employee, as a consultant, as a trainer of how to own my voice and really focus on what my leadership vision is. I'm Marissa Matz, the founder of Rising Legacy, and it's such a pleasure to be with you today. I would like to begin just to share with you a little bit about who I am and the work that I do. I've been in leadership development, working on HR teams across the globe for 22 years. And about 4 years ago, I was sitting in my office asking myself, what does it mean to be a leadership development facilitator? In the corporate workplace, nonprofit space, any organization, what does that mean? And I made a conscious decision that I was now going to add and enhance my career by bringing together and creating community for multicultural women leaders, and providing support and leadership development to create more equitable opportunities towards training, coaching, and mentoring for us. So I'm so happy that you've all joined us. I am excited to talk about this topic with you. It's one of many that I have on my list of free sessions for the community that I'm continuing to roll out on a quarterly basis. So thank you for joining. Today, I've thought about three specific topics that will help us ground ourselves not only in our leadership vision, but then using that vision to catapult us into meeting spaces, conversations where our voice is heard. So, the first topic we're going to be writing about and talking about is around what our personal leadership vision is. Some of you might be saying, I don't have one. Is that okay? That's okay. We'll begin this work in our session. Then once we begin to think about and formulate what a leadership vision sounds like to us, we're then going to think about what is the voice that comes out when I'm grounded in this leadership vision. And then the third thing we'll talk about is once you have those in place, a leadership vision, you have found your leadership voice and you're able to label it something, then we're going to think about what does it look like in the real world when we're in a meeting, maybe at work, or we're having a conversation with a friend, and now you want to advocate for an idea that you have. What is that push that gets your voice out into the room or into space where you say to yourself, wow, I just said that. Where did that come from? And then you'll begin to build and formulate more of your vision, more of your voice from that moment on. All right, so let's get moving. Um, through these decades of work, I work individually and in groups with leaders, and I thought of this question that may come up in my interactions with leaders, and that is, how do I find and own a leadership style that's authentic to me and not just perform a version of a leader that I've seen role model to me? I don't know if you think of often, you are working in your organization and all of a sudden you have adopted leadership behaviors that have been demonstrated to you. Like you have a really great supervisor, they do this with you, and now you're doing that. Oftentimes, years and years may pass, you've been doing these really great leadership behaviors, but then you might ask yourself, is that my authentic self, or am I just emulating other behaviors? So I'm going to come up with some 3 points that I want you to start thinking of as our warm-up exercise. That's what I'm going to call this. Warm-up exercise number one is to get you to think about your story. So you don't have to become someone else or emulate someone else to call yourself effective. And I really want you to think, what's my story? What are the values that I've been taught and exhibit that are so important to me and who I am? And how am I using my voice as an asset? Each one of us was raised in a family situation that might be unique to you. All of us were educated in lots of different ways with teachers, professors, coaches, mentors. And all of a sudden, we're adults and we have to put this um, uh, pattern together. And we're us. But oftentimes, we don't say to ourselves, am I a leader? Am I not a leader? I don't know if I'm leadership material. And so, my second point here is leadership isn't one size fits all. Please, please, please keep that in mind. Um, in organizations, I challenge, especially multicultural women leaders, to say to themselves, be you, think about you and your story, and show us that. Um, Assimilation can be a human behavior that feels more comfortable or expected, especially when it comes to leadership skills. So, this third bullet point says when you know what's authentic to you, you're able to show up at work with more clarity. So, today's exercises, we're going to move to step number one, is going to help us do more of this. So, step number one, everybody have a notebook in front of you. You can have a physical notebook or you can have, something that you're typing on. Quick story. This week, I was in a couple of workshops in person and I had people write in like with a pen and paper. And I can't tell you how many people said to me, Marissa, my hand hurts. I don't write a lot these days. I just type all day. So I want you to do what's comfortable for you. I still like pen and paper. All right. So if you want to take notes, please go ahead. Step number one is what is your leadership vision? Who has a leadership vision? Um, I can probably talk 4 hours on creating and articulating a leadership vision, but I'm going to give you some basic steps. Ready? So, number one, the reason you want to have something called a leadership vision, and this is can be one sentence, it can be a paragraph. I don't care how long it is, just as long as you're able to look down on paper and say to yourself, that's my leadership vision, because it serves as a compass. It's like your personal commitment to yourself about why you want to be a leader. Now, a leader is not necessarily someone who manages people. A leader is someone who leads themselves, influences others, may manage people. We are all leaders, and I invite you all to write down this leadership vision. The second reason you want to have a leadership vision is when you can name the leader that you want to become, you actually you stop chasing, sorry, you stop chasing someone else's version of leadership or leadership success. So we're contrasting my previous slide is stop emulating other people and figure out what you want. And then the third reason is you don't need to become someone new, someone fresh, someone that you again, may emulate, you really just want to focus on creating more of who you already are. So here's the exercise. With your notebook or a blank sheet of a Word doc on your computer, I want you to start to think about this phrase and I want you to finish it. So maybe right now, grab your pen, jot down, the leader I'm becoming is someone who blank. So let's just write this sentence, finish this one sentence. I'll give you 2 minutes, maybe 1 minute, and then we'll talk about it. Okay? So the leader I'm becoming is someone who blank. Go for it. If you want to write a second sentence, you have 30 more seconds. Christy, how did you know? Because the next step is to put this in the group chat. Type it in, please. The leader I'm becoming is someone who put it out there, put it out into the world. Let's manifest. Okay. If you're typing, keep going. Christy says, someone who inspires trust, drives results, uplifts others. Grace says, is seen as a safe space for mentorship. Create that invitation and she's there. Coaching, guidance. It is a start. That's what that leadership vision does. Hmm. Who is bold? Oh, yeah. I've known you for many years. Bold and unstoppable, and loves to pour that same behavior into others. Okay. So this is only the first version of this statement. If you don't have it written down already, this is the takeaway group. Do you see my wrinkled post-it? This is my leadership vision. I said, the leader I'm becoming is someone who is kind, constructive, and compassionate. So the reason it's all crinkled up here is because it's a post-it that sits on my desk. It used to be tacked onto my monitor, but post-it, it kind of, fades away. So it fell, but it just sits on my desk. I touch this post-it or I look at this post-it when I am having a rough day. When I look on my social media and society is imploding, I revisit this and I say to myself, this is why I'm a leader. This is why I have to keep going and do the work. I have to see this. And you might not need to touch it or see it when times are good, but when times are tough, pull this out. All right. Thank you, Farah. The leader I'm becoming is someone who leads with integrity and grace and inspires trust and joy and confidence in others. Mm. Okay, thank you so much, everybody. There's that leadership vision. Write it down, put it on a post-it, because now we're going to move to step 2, which is finding our voice, our leadership voice. I want you to think about a meeting that might be coming up for you next week, or maybe this afternoon. You're invited to a meeting. It can be with one person or a group of people. And I want you to envision what the agenda for this meeting is. Okay. And you want to walk into this meeting prepared. So you know what the agenda is, you know who's going to be there, you have an intention of how you want to show up in this meeting so that you can speak with clarity, you can speak with confidence and not have a feeling of being stressed or uncertain about what this meeting is going to be about. The point here is I want you to think about what preparation looks like to you. Some of us might walk into spaces and feel confident winging it, that you can walk into a meeting and participate and have this leadership voice easily. Some of us might say to ourselves, oh no, that's not me. I have to walk in there knowing what topics we're going to cover, who's in the room, what I want to say, how my words are going to impact the space. Regardless of your style, I highly encourage you to prepare yourself and not wing it. I'm speaking from a winging addict point of view. I love to walk into spaces and figure it out in the moment. But at the end of it, I second guess myself. Did I really say what I wanted to say? Did I share my ideas the way I wanted it to come out? Did it land in the room properly? And so in order to contrast that is to prepare. So think about what you need to do to get meeting agendas from people, because some meeting people, they send out an invite, but there's no agenda. Grab those agendas from people, review it ahead of time, Think about what are one or two things that you want to say to contribute to that meeting, because that preparation will help this voice come out. The second reason you want to have this vision is you want to understand who the people are that you're trying to speak to, influence with your leadership vision and leadership voice. So knowing your audience and thinking about who's in this space, who's going to lead the conversation, what kinds of voices usually get heard in your meeting spaces. Is it the loudest voices in the room? Is it the people that raise their hand first that get heard in the room? What kind of dynamics will evolve with these meeting topics? Like, are you about to go and talk about spicy things, things that already have tension, or, there's politics involved? Not like politics, but like office politics or project politics involved. How will you stay true to your voice and jump in and participate and advocate for your ideas when it's time? And the way that you're going to do that is preparing and knowing who's going to be in that space. So here's the exercise group with your same notebook. You're going to go to that meeting space that you're about to walk into, either later today or next week. Think about the hardest meeting that you're about to go to. And I'm going to give you a list on my next slide, a list of versions of a leadership voice, if you will. And I want you to think about your natural leadership voice, and we're going to label it. Okay, this is about self-awareness and your natural tendencies of how you speak in rooms. So here we go. I'm going to show you this slide, and I want you to pick one and write it down. All right, here we go. Are you the strategist voice? I'm going to bring up a laser pointer just to help our eyes with all this text. Are you the strategist voice in the room? Are you the connector voice in the room? Are you the challenger voice in the room? Or are you the listener? Are you the organizer that keeps things moving? Are you the empath in the room? Are you the person that bridges ideas? Are you the visionary? Are you the grounder? Or are you the spark? Don't you love these? I'm like, ooh, I think I'm a combination of a couple. But I want you to think about that upcoming meeting specifically. Okay, maybe in some meeting spaces you might be one version, but in this tough meeting that's coming up, think about the audience, think about the meeting topics. What voice will you bring into this room? And if you want, you can take a screenshot of this for now. I can send out a version of this slide deck for you for reference. I'm happy to do that. But for you to pick one of these, you can take a screenshot. And then when you're ready, write it down in your notes. Maybe write down that description. And I invite you to type in which leadership voice comes most naturally to you in the chat. Yes, you have to pick no more than two, Grace. All right. Thanks, everybody. Go ahead. It's that coach role you have, Grace. That empath comes out. Mm, thank you. Christy's the strategist. Aha. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that you all had already typed in. I'm like scrolling up. Um, the strategist, okay, and Quisha, visionary and connector. Mm. And Far, another connector. All these connectors. Hmm. You can come to my meetings and help all the different voices who all want their voice heard and people talk on top of each other. If you can all come to my meetings and bring people together, that would be great. Amazing. The visionary. So, this is a really good tool to use to recognize how your voice changes in different rooms. Because depending on who and who's in there and what you're talking about, this can shift, and that's okay. Naturally, we might say to ourselves, no, I'm pretty much the empath 100% of the time. People rely on me to be that, or the grounder, or the spark. But if you recognize yourself shifting in different spaces, this is a great tool to say, stay true to your leadership vision, find your leadership voice, because now step 3, everybody, is around how to then advocate for your ideas so that your voice doesn't get muffled in the space. Um, this is so near and dear to my heart, this step, this process, because the the corporate space, I'll speak to that room. The corporate space can ignore us or listen to us and then say, what other ideas do we have? And another man or a louder voice might come up, and then our idea gets forgotten. How do we get our ideas in the room? And even if it's not acted on that time, how do we keep doing it over and over and not be discouraged that, I keep offering my ideas and no one hears me? And if you're the meeting facilitator or the leader in the room, how do you demonstrate empathic listening, consideration of your team members' ideas? So this goes back and forth. It's not just how we advocate for our own ideas, but then how do we also invite other ideas in the room from others who might struggle with these 3 exact steps of finding our leadership vision, finding our leadership voice so we can advocate for our ideas. This is a ripple effect, everybody. And when we can use this ourselves and then demonstrate that out, we're all going to win. So this is why we want to prepare ourselves around advocating for our ideas. Because when clear ideas are prepared, thought of, they're going to land better in the room. I mentioned that earlier. Sometimes when I wing it, I second guess myself afterwards and I might go to the bathroom and say, why did I say it like that? Like, I don't know if anybody heard me or got my idea. So you really want to think about how are you going to prepare the statement or prepare the idea so that it lands. The second thing is, as I've mentioned, really ensuring who your audience is, thinking about what kind of questions do these people typically ask. I know that all of you know the devil's advocate kind of people on your teams. You're like, oh yeah, here we go. They're gonna they're going to be skeptics and they're going to, poke holes at my idea. Prepare for them. Rehearse so that you hear your voice delivering the idea or delivering the message. Write this down, everybody. This is my recommendation. When you're ready with your idea or your thought that you're going to bring into the room, maybe next week, say it out loud 3 times. Write that down. Practice saying your idea or your comment or your whatever you're going to bring into that room. Say it 3 times in a row. Because what do you think is going to happen by the 3rd time? You can just come off mute and share. What will happen after the 3rd time?
You're going to believe it and have more confidence than the first time.
Yeah, yeah.
You
What if
took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah, yeah. You're going to have more confidence. You're going to be ready. And maybe the first time you say it, it's a little clunky, but by the 3rd time, you're like, I got this. It's going to sound like this. And you might change or tweak a couple words, but by that 3rd time, you're going to be ready. Then the 3rd point here is the more that your words reflect that leadership voice, empath, grounder, connector, and demonstrate your values and who you are, that's going to be more you. And you're going to be ready to speak out. So, team, I'm going to pause here. Oh, yes, 11:35, even by starting late. This is the final exercise. So, we are a small group here, and if you wish, this is now a group conversation. Um, I want us to think about maybe a recent moment where we might have shared an idea in a space that mattered a lot to you. It could be in a meeting or in a conversation with a friend or family member or a coworker or even a group text. I don't know if any of you have ever put in an idea in a group text and no one replies to you. You're like, what the heck? Did anybody hear me? How did other people respond? And what would you want to do differently next time? So if you, I'll give you a moment to think. What happened recently? How did the group respond? How did you present that idea? And what would you want to do differently next time? So if anyone wants to chime in, share, you can think about it for a moment. Any stories out there?
Okay, I'll share.
Fire.
So I recently went on a little vacation with a girlfriend of mine to Europe, and I combined it with my daughter's graduation. She just graduated from college overseas. And my friend who I traveled with is extremely busy. She is works full time. She has two boys who are both autistic, have ADHD. She homeschools them. She is one of the busiest people I've ever known and just didn't have time to step away to plan anything for herself. So I took on planning this travel for us, and it was so wonderful, so life-giving that on the way home, I was like, kind of had that light bulb moment where I was like, God, how cool to offer something like this, like a hosted travel for midlife women who are just going through so many things, like just don't have time and energy, and um, they barely have time to take a shower. So it's like I presented this idea. I got so excited about. I currently have I'm an entrepreneur. I have a small batch granola business, Indian inspired granola business, and I'm having to make a transition with that. So I was like, what else can I do with my brand? And so I decided that maybe I would do this hosted travel for midlife women and kind of take a small intimate group of 6 to 8 women to, I had an idea of going to Oaxaca in October and arranging everything for the trip. And honestly, everyone would just put a deposit down and I would make it as affordable as possible. We would share a house. And I got so excited that I jumped the gun and was like, okay, I'm doing this, like with really not a lot of thought. And I got so much positive feedback that I couldn't believe it, actually, the amount of women who emailed me and texted me and were like, I'm so down for something like this. And even a couple of husbands were like, oh my God, my wife would love that. And so um, I still believe in the idea, but I think something I would do different is just take a little more time to be more thoughtful and think it through. Um, I do have a family of my own. I think about the time it takes to do something like that, the financial situation. And so I don't know if that answers like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
question, but like, yeah, so that's kind of my story. Yeah.
Mm.
Recent story. Yeah.
And that happens in the real world all the time. We get really
Yeah.
excited and
Yeah.
we jump into ideas and thoughts, and then you'll pause and say to yourself, what would have happened differently if I would have prepared a little bit more?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So,
So, and it doesn't take too much time, you know, 3 to 5 minutes, gathering your thoughts. How do you want your message to come out? Who's going to be in the room? Who am I
mm,
speaking to?
mhm.
What do I want them to do afterwards? What kind of questions am I going to get?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, all of that ripple effect result ends up being part of your, and I'm then going to label this leadership reputation or leadership legacy. And I'm just brushing the surface around your leadership legacy. That's truly the work that I want to do for the rest of my life, is working with women leaders on their legacies. So this is, I'm going to say, phase one of your leadership legacy is, what's your leadership vision? Write it down, put it on a post-it. Number two is, what does your leadership voice sound like? So you can show up from that space. And then how do you get these ideas out so that people can hear them? So the reminder here, group, in our final slides is, your voice is already within you, is there. The work is learning how to trust it. And so that leadership vision is your anchor, preparation is power, and then the hardest one of it all, which is my hardest thing, maybe easier for you empaths, is around listening. Because you're just one person. Leaders are working with others through lots of different work tasks, and we can't do this world alone by any means. So listening to others, even listening to others who disagree with you or have opposing views, that's another 4-hour workshop that I'm not going to get into in too much detail now, but this is one of the hardest. There's two leadership practices that are the hardest in my experience. One is listening with deep empathy, and the second one is giving constructive feedback. Both of those, if utilized, would create a much better world and society. So I'll step off of that one, but listening is leadership. So here are my final thoughts, everybody. Know your leadership vision. It's going to keep you grounded in those hard times. Understand what your leadership voice is and what you need to do to use it to show up fully. Then we have to prepare ourselves, know who we're talking to, and practice it. How many times? Three times. Say it 3 times in a row. So this is a task, everybody. I'm not technically a teacher, but I will give us an assignment. In the next month, I know like summer's here and we're going on vacay and we're so busy with initiatives. Can you believe Q2 is over next week? But this month, this is what I invite you to do. Think about that upcoming meeting or conversation where you say to yourself, okay, I need to show up with more clarity with my idea in hand that I've practiced 3 times. Think about that meeting agenda. Go back to your leadership vision statement now that I hope you put it on a post-it note, and then bring that idea into the room. Share it, advocate it with intention because you've practiced it 3 times. Okay, can we do that in the next month sometime? Maybe in the next week? Because when we can do these 3 steps, vision, voice, idea, then we can make changes, small changes. I'm not asking anyone to conquer the world. Just make these 3 small changes for yourself. Let me know how it goes. I have one more free workshop scheduled on the calendar right now in September. I'd love if you came. All right, thank you so much.